gracious. Having fun yet? Do certify there is a quorum present with all 5 commissioners present. And at this time, I would ask Chief Greaser to lead us in a prayer and pledge allegiance to the Texas and state flag, United States flag.
Our Father in heaven, we're indeed grateful for this opportunity to meet together as an ESD board and all the members of our ESD and all of those that serve and seek to deliver the services to our people and our citizens that we respond to and try to provide for their needs. We pray that blessings upon all of our first responders, our firefighters, police officers, and any of our EMS and public safety out there on the streets that are working this day and in this holiday season. We celebrate the birth of the Savior Jesus Christ, and we're thankful for this season, and we pray that protections upon us. In the name of Jesus Christ, we now pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right. Let's see. We have any guests tonight? I see Jim's here from Christus. Yes, sir. Anybody else? We have KLTV here tonight with us, and we appreciate them coming. So, anyway, so. Well, I got the wrong deal up here. All right. Number 4, is anybody signed up for public comment? No. Nobody's here for public comment. Okay. All right. Item 5 is the consent agenda. Discuss, consider, and take any necessary action related to the payment of accounts, bills, invoices, payroll, requests for reimbursement, requests for other payments, transfer fund, and amendments. Under 5.1, payment of our bills.
I just have one question under the flex supply, $6,325. That's for blocker rental. Is this our last month of receiving that invoice? Yes. Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. All right. And anybody else doesn't have any questions, I'll entertain a motion to pay our
Make a
bills.
motion to pay our bills under 5.1 in the amount of $1,103,435.03.
Have a motion by Commissioner Dominic to pay our bills under 5.1 in the amount of $1,103,435.03. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Is there any other comment or discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries. All right. 5.2 is the district credit card bills. If nobody has any question or anything, I'll entertain a motion for that.
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion by Commissioner Wilson that we pay our credit card bills in the amount of $8,370.97. Have a second? Second. Have a second by Commissioner Thornton. Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And that motion carries. All right. Item number 5.3, our contractual payments.
I have a couple of questions initial on that one. So under principal, which is our employee dental and vision, that's not an actual invoice, that's an estimate. Is that correct? So we're looking at trying to get it pre-approved before its due date, before we actually receive the invoice?
Typically, principal wants to be paid on January 1st. And so this being a short month, we normally would have the invoice by this due date, by this meeting. Okay?
Right.
So we don't this month, so we're trying to get pre-approved so that we can be in good standing with our insurance.
So what happens if the invoiced amount is above what's approved here, $9,049.46.
I'm almost certain it won't be,
But
because I inflated it by 20%, and it's, unless we add, and I kind of double checked to make sure we didn't add a lot of staff or anything along those lines. But if it is, I'll just stand by.
Okay, so I'll request that whenever you have something unique like this in a month, actually move it out of the consent agenda and put it as a line item for us.
Yeah,
That way it brings attention to the fact that we are approving something that's not actual invoice,
yeah,
in lieu of just it being not hidden there.
right. Okay,
So the other item I have is under the Smith County Appraisal District. It's under the Smith County Tax Office. We're asking for a payment of $85,725.75. As I read it, that is $725 over budget.
It is, yes.
Okay, again, if you're gonna ask for approval of something over budget, under contractual payments is not the place to do it. You need to be breaking these things out, and we've discussed this more than once in here, so let's please start paying attention and getting those things moved out, where they're not just the uniform
right.
payments that are needed. We need to make sure that we have correct discussion about these.
Yeah, because we'll have to make a budget amendment to
That's
take
right.
care of that
Yep.
later on, so, okay. I didn't catch it, Brent, I'm sorry when I looked at it Friday.
No worries, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah.
So, okay. All right. Is there any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the credit card payment or contractual payments.
And I'll make that motion, we approve the contract for payments in the amount of $272,626.20.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Dominy that we pay our contract payments in the amount of $272,626.20. Have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries. Item 6, approval of minutes. Receive, discuss, and take any action relating to the following reports. Board of Commissioners minutes, November 27th, 2023.
Commissioner Brown, I've gone through and reviewed those and have made any corrections that were needed and submitted them back, so I'll make the motion that we approve those minutes as submitted.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Dominy that we approve the board minutes of the November 27th, 2023 minutes as submitted with the corrections he made. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Thornton. Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries also. All right. Item 7, Executive Director's Administrative and Financial Report.
Okay, you all have received the written report, so I'm going to do 3 highlights. The first highlight is due to the emergency staffing that we've had over the past 2 months, the financial indications are that the overtime budget and the part-time budget is under considerable stress. As a result of that, I have worked on preparing some updated forecasts for this fiscal year, as well as projections for the next 4 years. And it is my intention to set up a time with each of you individually and review the forecast and the projections so we can get a good feeling of where it looks we are heading, and all the commissioners are well informed what the finances look like. So I will do that. I've already started with President Brown, and I will set up individual times with you. We can do that. Most likely it'll be, some of you will be before the holidays and some of you will be right after the holidays. I also would like to highlight the migration from Vera Bank to our new depository institution, Regions Bank. And the board last board meeting gave me the approval to sign all necessary documents. And it is a little slower than what could originally have been expected to do this migration, but it's partially our fault because we are asking a lot of questions from Regions. We want to understand each and every document we're signing, and we're pointing out things that doesn't make sense. So it gets routed back to Regions and they come back with an answer. So if you think it is dragging out, it is because we are being very thorough and making sure we understand what it is we're signing and what it is we're getting, what we're signing up for. So those were the highlights. Other than that, I'm more than happy to answer any question you may have.
Anybody have any questions for Eric?
No, I didn't.
No. Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Item 8 are financial reports, statement of net position, statement of activities, budget versus actual, reconciliation reports, and the check register. So, Keith?
So on the budget to actual reports, we enhanced those a bit. As part of the transition to regions, we've added some new funds, and so we've included new budget to actual reports when there's actual activity. But I did want to look at the budget to actual report, and try to give you an update on that. Step together. So we're in November, we're 2 months into our year, so we should be about 17% utilized as far as budgeted revenues and budgeted expenses. So overall, our total budgeted revenues, we're at 16%. Sales tax, the majority of our, a significant portion of our revenues, we're right at 16%. And our property tax ad valorem is a little low, but December and January are the major months where we receive the majority of those funds. So we're tracking pretty close to where we should be for budgeted revenues. Expenses, salaries, or administrative payroll under salaries full-time, we're right at 16%. Salaries part-time, Eric had mentioned, the challenges with part-time and overtime. The salaries with part-time, we're at 84% of what's budgeted as far as utilized, and for overtime, we're at 55%. Overall, administrative payroll, benefits and all, right at 18% of budgeted expenses. Contractual fees and services, we're right at 21%. Reason that's a little bit high is we make our tower lease payment, it's an annual payment, and we make it the very beginning of the fiscal year. Information technology, you budgeted expenditures to budgeted to actuals, it's right at 29%. But I think that's just because of probably accelerated buying and part of the IT area. As far as operating expenses, we are right at 30%. Now, that's pretty high, but if you look at object code 54002, that's our principal payments that we make, and the interest payments we make for the Motorola lease, which is an annual payment we make, and we make that at the beginning of the fiscal year as well. Fire department expenses, we're at 27%. If you combine actual expenditures and encumbrances, and the reason that is, I'm including the encumbrances because we've got a big project on the admin rehab we're working on right now. So a lot of those invoices should materialize fairly shortly. So those two combined, we're at 27% utilized of the actual budget. Supplies for gas and diesel, we're right at 7%. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but I'm going to investigate and find out for you. We're right at 7% on that. Operational expenses, overall, we're at 17% of expenditures compared to actual budget. New equipment and gear, we're at 6% utilized. There's a rhythm to how that purchases take place, and so I'm sure we'll catch up throughout the fiscal year. Stipend totals, we're at 6%, but I think those are billed quarterly, so we haven't had that first quarter billing yet, so we should catch up fairly shortly. Training, we're right at 14% of the budget utilized. And truck repairs and maintenance, if you combine the actuals and encumbered, we're right at about 16% of what's been budgeted. Overall, our expenses are almost 15% exactly of what's been budgeted for the year as far as expenditures.
Okay. For some of these that are over right now, you look for them to normalize and come back down into the range as
Yes.
time goes on?
Normally, it's a buying rhythm, so they
Yeah.
don't follow a certain
Right.
standard rate.
Right. So we're at 17%, but next month, they might be more close to being in line, even though some of it was over budget.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you about a couple of them. In particular, I'm gonna look at the general operating expense. And, it totaled out that we have encumbrance of 99,000 out of a budget of 379,000. But, those are expenses that are normally incurred over the period, and the one that stands out to me in particular is the rental equipment. We had $8,600 budgeted, and we've got overrun of 88,000. So how is that one gonna be normalized?
Well, I know the story behind that. So that's the rental for the dozer.
Mhm.
And I think at this meeting, we're asking to buy the dozer. So we have an encumbrance right now to rent that dozer for the entire year. But we're not gonna rent it for the entire year. We've paid 3 rental payments so far, and I believe that's the only rental payments we're gonna make. And so we're gonna liquidate that purchase order at our next meeting. You will not see that.
Okay. So you got the same thing under building insurance and capital vehicles. Capital vehicles is 36,216 over budget. My point is that, though I agree with you and understand what you're doing as far as looking at the bottom line, where we stand at on a percent basis, but we also need to be looking at individual account codes. And where we have overruns like this, we need to acknowledge that we have the overruns in them. I mean, it's gonna take a budget amendment to be able to correct it. And the earlier we start talking about it in here, the easier it makes it for us to do that later on. But, just to highlight gloss over the top of it and say we're 17% and things should be okay is not the way I wanna look at it.
So circling back to the capital vehicles, and the challenge there is, we've set up these new funds for 2024, but those purchase orders that migrated over from 2023 were all charged to Fund 100, our operating fund. So when they migrated over, they migrated into Fund 100, but they're really gonna be reallocated and paid out of the capital funds. We haven't really gone live with those capital funds yet, and the reason being is we're just trying to, but yeah, I see your point, and I'll do a better job next time.
So just make the point of highlighting them and saying that's what it is. I mean, you don't have to tell us every time, but tell us at least once.
Very good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else we need to look at on that? Okay. All right. Item number 9, Director of Human Resources. Discuss, consider, and take any action on the Human Resources report. Sherry?
This one. All right, you all have my Human Resources report. I don't know if you have any questions, but I did want to point out a few things on it. Nikki Simmons, the Community Outreach Coordinator, will start on January 2nd, so that's good news. We have 10 qualified applicants for the 12-hour firefighter position. We had 8 that showed up for the agility test on Saturday, and out of those 8, 6 passed. And then we also have another part-timer that's requesting to go full-time, so that gives us 7 at this point. We still have to do the written exam, and I don't have a test date on that yet, so that'll be coming. The other thing I wanted to point out was Texas Mutual, we did the workers' compensation audit. I got the final audit back, and we're actually getting a refund of $3,610. That's good news. Let's see, well, we can talk that in about a minute. Is there any other questions that you might have? No? Okay.
No. I
Okay.
don't think there's any action to be taken on that. It's more or less information than it is anything else at this point. All right. Discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the ESI contract renewal for employee and volunteer assistance program.
Yes.
You gonna speak on that one too, Sherry?
Yes, I've submitted to you the invoice for the renewal. It's $8,225. This is for the Employee Assistance Program, and it's also for volunteers as well. It's for them as well as their families. And so I'm just asking if you'll approve that so that I can sign for the new year.
I'll make a motion that we approve the renewal VSI program for $8,225.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Dominy that we approve the renewal of the ESI contract for 2024 in the amount of $8,225 and authorize HR Director to sign.
Yes.
Okay,
I'll
all right.
second.
Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Is there any other discussion or question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries. Okay. All right. 9.3, workforce injuries, Ms. Sherry.
Yes, I'm happy to announce we don't have any workers' comp injuries right now that are resulting from loss of work. The same with personal injuries.
That's great.
So everyone that we've had previously has returned to full duty.
That's good.
So it's good news there. Good way to end of the year.
Yes,
It is, very good, yeah. All right, item 10, Support Services Director. Discuss, consider taking any necessary action on purchasing the diesel particulate filter and diesel oxidation catalyst filter and their components for engine 222 at a cost of $6,106.83. Larry?
Commissioners, this was a required repair that was discovered during preventative maintenance cycle and is within budget.
Okay,
Happy to answer any questions that you have on this.
yeah. So you're asking the board to approve purchasing that or get the work done from Holt Truck Center?
That's correct. And something you may see new on my request coming through is the evaluation tabulation. We're going to try to start producing that for the board on anything that comes from support services that has more than one quote to show you how we came up with the selection for the provider.
And this is not the truck we had to have repaired?
This is not, and I'll have an update for you on that in my report.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll entertain a motion to, on this agenda item.
Somebody,
Make a motion to, go ahead,
Go ahead, Scott.
authorize the staff to purchase diesel particulate filter and diesel oxygen catalyst filters, components from Holt Truck Center at a cost of $6,106.83.
Okay, have a motion by Commissioner Thornton to authorize the staff to get the diesel particulate and the diesel oxidation catalyst from Holt Truck Center at a cost of $6,106.83. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Larry, did I cut you off from giving your report?
No, sir.
Oh, okay, all right. 10.2, discuss, consider, and take any action on repairing body damage to Service 156 at a cost of $2,602.79.
Commissioners, this is due to an accident that had occurred with the fleet. It was kind of an unknown accident at the time that it occurred. The damage wasn't noticed till later. We do have the statements that are on file. It's small fender damage to the rear fender of the vehicle that needs to be repaired. So again, you'll see the evaluation tabulation and our recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. And my understanding, the support truck was parked out in back of the station overnight, and they found the damage the next day. Is that correct?
No, I think the damage occurred during the triathlon event. I think it was caused by backing incident where they backed in or jackknifed the trailer that was hauling the side-by-side. But I don't think the damage was noticed until the next day.
so you think it may actually been us that caused it?
It was,
Not a third party that backed in?
we believe it was caused by either a jackknife event or a backing event.
Okay. So we know who's driving the vehicle, right?
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll make a motion to authorize the staff to contract Elite Collision Center of Tyler to repair the passenger's side rear fender on S-156 at a cost of $2,602.79.
Have a motion by Commissioner Thornton to authorize staff to contract with Elite Collision Center of Tyler to repair the passenger side rear fender on Support 156 at a cost of $2,602.79. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries. Review Support Services Board Report under 10.3. I guess that would be you, Larry.
Commissioners, I'm just going to call out a few things. The server upgrade project is underway. Y'all approved that a couple meetings back. We're making significant progress on that, and it's moving forward fairly smoothly. The apparatus graphics project is also underway. There's been a few delays as we had some minor issues with some product selection early on, somewhat expected. We started small. We had some issues with some of the reflectivity that was less than what we expected. The vendor did a great job in making it right. Very fast acting. They actually hot shot a crew down twice from Houston to make the product selection correct. But because of that, they had to wait on some additional material to come in. We expect us to start moving forward just after the holidays with the next round of vehicles. So although we had some minor setbacks timeline, the quality is good and the vendor is doing a good job. The station supply cabinets have also been put into place. We did see about a 50% reduction the first couple of rounds through by the logistic stock. So as they come into the station, they're seeing about a 50% reduction in time at the station restocking. The engine def system repair for engine 266 that y'all approved up to $20,000, around $20,000 last month. We did accomplish that repair for the lower value that was expected for the 6400, so we had a $14,000 savings over what was approved. And I apologize for my metric summary not being included in this. I'm just seeing that it's not. There's not a lot to really call out this time other than it was a very short period that we're doing the review in. Mileage and safety looks to be about spot on from where it was last month. No real changes. And if you take out some time that we had due to a workplace injury and some vacation, if you take that out of account, fleet is holding pretty steady where they were with the productivity, and we're starting to see some slight increases there as well. So be happy to answer any questions you have.
A lot of information, I appreciate it.
Yep. All right. Item 10.4, discuss, consider, and take any action on repairing body damages to Battalion Chief 2 vehicle at a cost of $4,384.56.
All right, this is another accident that occurred. This one was on scene of a traffic accident. We were working, and the write-up and background is in the statement. I believe this one is going to qualify or already has an insurance claim started, but we're going to have to make the approval on this, get it repaired, and then submit it for reimbursement.
So is there, talking about insurance claim on our insurance policy, but was there a determination of fault?
I'm unaware at this moment how that actually got ruled, whether it was investigated on scene, but what they did with that, I think they left it up to the insurance companies to determine.
So there may or may not be an opportunity to seek reimbursement from the other party's insurance.
That is correct.
So they didn't write a ticket, but they didn't show either party at fault? Okay. All right. Well, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion on 10.4 to get that vehicle repaired.
Make a motion to authorize staff to contract Elite Collision Center of Tyler to repair the body damage to Battalion Chief 2 cost of $4,384.56.
Have a motion by Commissioner Dominy to authorize staff to contract with Elite Collision Center of Tyler to repair the body damages on Battalion Chief Vehicle 2 at a cost of $4,384.56. Have a second?
Second it.
Have a second by Commissioner Thornton. Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item 11, Chief of Operations. Chief Greaser.
President, Commissioners, you have my report with you tonight. Several highlights that are included in there. We've been making significant progress in terms of training on the container props that we've put together. Been rotating companies through there. In fact, tonight, some of the volunteer companies are rotating through as well. So lots of outstanding training that's occurring there. I would definitely commend all the work that's been put in by staff to create the facility, put it together. We're very appreciative of the support of the board in terms of funding to get us to that point. Lots of opportunity to improve our disciplines and training that can occur in that environment. So I look forward to future opportunities to improve it, but I definitely appreciative of where we're at this point. Several things that are on the agenda tonight for consideration, including the dozer, the plow, and the Lucas CPR devices. Most very pleased to present to you that we've collaborated and worked together to come to agreement on the contract, and so we'll have further discussion about that. But the representation of all the VFDs have come together, and we're in agreement. Staffing we've talked about tonight, and we have some future agenda items to talk about with staffing, but I've included some notations on staffing. Pleased with the outcomes that the training division have been performing. Lots of training that has been assigned, lots of training that is occurring, as well as what we've been working with UT Health in the CE programs, and now have scheduled up for the VFD members to be able to meet the requirements of FRO and EMS training that goes with that. Those are some of the highlights. I'm available for any of your questions that you might have related to my report.
You don't have anything?
I don't have anything.
Nothing here.
Scotty,
Nope.
Okay, thank you, Chief. 11.1, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on purchase of Pierce pumper, job number 1056, to include outfit in the amount of $1,196,555.19. Who's gonna speak on that? Chief or Larry?
Yeah. Commissioners, I provided for you 2 meetings ago kind of a spreadsheet that demonstrated that the objectives of this budget cycle related to apparatus capital and the funding associated with that. The priorities that we would look at. Obviously, there's a lot of moving targets here related to our budget and some of the overages that were spoke about by Mr. Edstrom earlier, and related to us being responsible to that budget. Not a whole lot of places to get additional funds to offset overages, and so we're cognizant of that fact. Rather than present to you 2 pumpers tonight, which Pierce Manufacturing had provided us 2 opportunities and 2 job numbers to be produced with August delivery dates to be built in Florida. I think it's most responsible that we only present one of them to you tonight and forego the opportunity for the second one. notwithstanding the fact that delivery times continue to range in the 36-month range on apparatus at this point. The real trick in delivery times at this point for any agency, including Tyler Fire, is to acquire demos. That's really how we're working around that challenge for the fire service.
Is this one a demo as well?
This is a demo, and it's a twin sister to the one that was just delivered. In fact, Pierce Management offered that if no substantial changes, including engineering changes, would be required, they could offer that at a much improved delivery time of August of '24. So at any rate, I present to you one of those tonight. Prices are still exuberant. I don't see those coming down ever. And it's just a huge challenge when you look at the funding that we have available in that account to maintain a fleet of our size and the number of pumpers. And so just one other point to make about this. This is offset in portion by the insurance payment of $350,000 that was related to the Winona pumper that was totaled in a total loss. So we'll be able to offset this cost that you have before you at $1,085,302 for the pumper itself, then the accessories and equipment and upfitting that it'll take that you have on the funding request. But the base cost for the pumper at $1,085,302, offset by $350,000 for insurance payment that we expect to have back in the apparatus capital to offset that.
So that is not included in the requested $1,196,000, right?
We did not offset that. We showed you the true cost.
Right, good, thank you.
Okay. Have they given you any updates on the 3 pumpers that we ordered 2 years ago?
Yeah, I do have an update on that, and it
Okay.
looks like those are all the way out to August, almost the exact same time. In fact, they may come off the line almost very similar time, although those will be produced in Wisconsin, and this one would be produced in Florida.
So they've gone from March to August now.
Much like Spartan has pushed back from a September delivery, it now anticipates a January delivery, although that's not firm either.
So the big thing on the Spartan is just waiting on their make ready to put whatever in it, right?
That is correct, and it's been waiting in Houston. What we bought was a 98% turnkey demo by the dealer, a dealer demo. A little bit of difference between a dealer speccing out a demo and a demo coming out of a factory demo. Some unique features about that, but yeah, that is the update on the Spartan apparatus from Metro Fire. Is we're looking at sometime late January as their estimates right now, although I have no additional updates that they've started on.
So this particular project, the contract offering that is included places escalation risk on us as well. This being a demo, is that still applicable? Under the terms and conditions of the offering, it says that we have escalation risk for anything over 5%.
To my knowledge, that would not be true. What we're buying is the demo turnkey the way that it's specified at this point. So there would be no expectation of us to pay an escalator. That's a fixed cost, although we wouldn't make payment on that until we receive delivery, just like we did the one here. So they made no changes on us with that one of any sort.
I know that's a standard form for them. Even if you can't get that form revised, if you get a commitment that excludes that escalation, I appreciate it.
Okay.
And then the pumper funding request that we have in front of us does not include any other potential submittals in this meeting as far as encumbered. Is that correct?
I want to make sure I understand what you're asking.
So right now, you say we have an encumbered amount of 1.7 million.
Okay,
in this particular funding request. I believe there are another, maybe one or two requests that would potentially come out of this same account code.
correct.
This is the last one. So it takes into account the other ones.
We placed this at the tail end of that, so the others were already encumbered.
So so the encumbered value here would include those other purchases.
That are on the agenda.
If you approve them.
Okay, if I approve, okay.
The Lucas device, is that a separate
That's a
line item versus
Yes, it is.
the later agenda item?
Yes, so,
it is.
excellent point. We've included that as a loose equipment piece on this. Although in budget, we packaged for 7, which you have before you tonight.
So is this going to be,
This
the
is
approval of this one would be a 8th one?
It would, absolutely it would be.
And it's done that way on purpose. So the 7 that we had originally were budgeted, knowing that we would be purchasing additional trucks, and that would be packaged into the truck cost.
Yeah, okay. So as long as we budget it that way, then, or this was going to be charged to the appropriate place, whichever way it went to. But, I mean, I like the fact that we're included in here so we know what our true commitment is for the entire apparatus and everything, all accessories, but just needed to understand where that money's at.
We've committed quite a bit of time trying to get to that as, at your request.
Good, thank you very much. We appreciate you doing this for us.
All right, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion on 11.1.
I mean, I'll make it, just want to make a statement that, I appreciate that you've gone out and have looked for and found another demo with a good pricing and a good delivery on it. One of the questions I did have was about it being a single quote to us, and now I understand that it being a demo, that you're not gonna get multiple quotes for the demo, right? So, but
Correct.
I appreciate that.
Correct.
Okay, so finishing there, I'll make the motion that we approve the purchase of the Pierce pumper, job number 1056, in the amount of $1,196,555.19, and allow Chief Greaser to sign all required documentation.
Yep. Have a motion by Commissioner Dominy to approve the purchase of Pierce pumper, job number 1056, to include the equipment in the amount of $1,196,555.19, and allow the Chief Greaser to sign all required documents. Have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Is there any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay, and that motion carries. 11.2, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the purchase of Lucas devices in the amount of $137,905. And Chief Greaser, you want to speak on that?
Absolutely. Very excited to present to you this package. As you know, we've championed this for many months and talked about the life-saving potential that this type of equipment has, which absolutely excites me to be able to improve our outcomes related to CPRs that occur out in the field pre-hospital. There is significant data to indicate the improvements that these devices provide to our patients. Additionally, they provide for safety of first responders, including our firefighters that ride in the back of ambulances to the hospital that would oftentimes be unbelted while performing compressions on a patient. And this device allows us to remain belted in the back of the ambulance while treating for our patients. So not only do they provide for improved outcomes for our patients that we treat, pre-hospital and pre-EMS transport arrival, but they also provide for safety and improved risk reduction of our firefighters in the back of the ambulances with the paramedics riding to the hospital. So we're excited to present to this project, that we presented in the budget preparation. We believe that these are dollars well spent at outcomes that are well documented and demonstrated in the industry. I would also go on to note that UT EMS is in the process of obtaining some of these as well, this same product. We understand that initially they will not be deployed right here in Smith County, but rather the outlying areas. That's an important piece of their decision-making as well, because as paramedics and EMTs in the back of the ambulance become fatigued from providing compressions, the quality of that CPR diminishes, which is a direct relationship to survival outcomes of our patients. So the further those transport times are from kind of a hub and spoke kind of concept, you want to deploy those models outwardly for longer transport times. We're excited to have those on the engines. Currently, as a point of note for you, Bullard has one on their engine that they received in a grant, as well as Noonday has one on their engine. So we already have two that are in service at this moment, and the feedback is exceptional on these devices. So I'm very excited to present to you this project. I know that it's significant dollars, but I think it's money well spent in terms of life-saving equipment for the citizens that we serve.
I agree with you on that, Chief, but I'd also like to see statistics on this of when they're used and the survival rates that we get.
Yep.
That'll be a good thing to be able to report to the public.
Yeah, there's data out there that suggests that there's a 31% improvements of with continuous compression of those outcomes to
Right.
spontaneous respirations. And
Yeah, I'd like to see that we're keeping up with it and those outcomes, you know. I mean, it's a lot of money, but if it saves one life, then it's paid for
it's
itself.
priceless.
So that's all that matters. But it's just nice to know what we're doing is making a difference, you know
Yes,
what
sir.
I mean? So, anyway.
Outside of the initial purchase price, do we have any reoccurring cost? Budgeting?
Yes, and so in that, you've got batteries, you've got the suction cups. You'll notice that the suction cups for a pack of 3 are not cheap, but not also one-time use only. So they can be utilized a few times through decontamination and things of that nature. But there's also some potential to utilize our funding from EMS.
Okay. And that's where I was really getting at, is that, okay, we make the initial purchase, do we also need to be looking at budgeting somewhere for those reoccurring costs?
Yeah, we'll monitor that closely as we roll back into budget and related to what we can acquire as consumable back out of EMS.
Okay, thank you.
All right, gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion on 11.2. Also, Chief, they did come in under budget, right? I mean, what we budgeted.
This is under budget, that is true.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, Scott.
No, you're good. I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of Lucas devices from Stryker in the amount of $137,905 from GL 58101.
I have a motion by Commissioner Thornton. We approve the purchase of Lucas devices from Stryker in the amount of $137,905. Have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Edwards. Any other question or discussion?
I might just point out that that's a sole source letter attached to that. You know, we had some internet pricing that kind of got us to setting the budget, but there's a sole source provider for this. That internet pricing was not for new devices, that was for refurbishments and old generation devices. This is for the newest generation and from sole source.
Okay. All right. Any other question or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay, and that motion carries. All right. 11.3, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on purchase of leased dozer from Holt Cat in the amount of $166,646.48.
Commissioners, you have before you tonight the opportunity to purchase the leased piece of equipment that we leased at the tail end of last fiscal year. From that point forward, as indicated in my Friday reports, we've been outfitting on it. Some of that equipment we purchased outright as a funding request that we had in last year's budget. That included things like the protective screening, the plow device on the back end, and some of the other upfitting equipment that is mounted to this unit at this point. We've also implemented radio equipment on the plow, the dozer unit, and it is fully in service at this time. It has been deployed already on a few incidents and has been trained on and worked over. We're pleased with its performance and the opportunities that it provides for us moving forward for many years to come. One of the things that you had asked of me is to kind of get an appraisal of the John Deere 450, which, just as a point of note, was provided to us, or we obtained it rather, from forestry as a surplus plow several years back. Many hours on it. I'm unable to tell you exactly how many. The undercarriage is in need of replacement. It is in Winona at this point at a facility being evaluated. Despite all of my efforts to get a estimate back on that, I was unable to get anything that was in hard numbers. Some ideas that it's in the $40,000 range to redo the undercarriage and get it back operational for us as a reserve unit. At this point, I'm not asking you to fund that, just kind of giving you a perspective of where it's at. In preparing this for you, I've also looked at other used equipment to kind of figure out if this is a best value for us as a district to look at purchasing this piece of equipment. All indications say that it is. Looking at several different that I've been presented with and looked at, some D2s that are in the $170,000 range. The issue is making sure that you're comparing apples to apples. This is pretty difficult when you get in this world, whether or not it's an enclosed cab, whether or not it's a protected cab in terms of the screening, and then whether or not you would bring over the plow and things of that nature. So there's some cost to redoing a unit if we chose to go that route. By all estimates that I can see, this is the best value for the district. Now that we've made this many payments into it, what do we do moving forward? There's no question whether or not the plows are of value to us as a suppression unit. They are significantly valuable to the district, and in many ways just priceless what they perform for us. So that is kind of the background on it, where we're at. I'm available to answer any questions you might have.
So the lease is not running out on it? It's
Correct.
just opportunity, so we could continue to lease it for?
I think the lease was continual for a year the way it was built. You could restructure that as you would see fit.
So with the known budget overruns that we have in personnel, I would recommend that we pause the purchase of this piece of equipment until we can actually go through this funding forecast in the hopefully next 30 days.
Okay.
Give us a clearer understanding of really where we're going to be at overall in the budget. There's no risk to the services being provided to anybody.
Correct.
We'll continue to lease it at least for another month and then reassess that as part of our budgeting reforecast.
That, there is no risk to that. That would just kick the can. They would apply the interest piece to the payment, the same way they have. Nothing changes.
Okay. Is that all right with everybody else? Okay, then we'll table 11.3 and
No
put
problem.
it to another meeting,
Thank you.
and not a problem. Thank you. And maybe by that time, maybe you'll have some better quotes on the other one, what it take
Yep.
to get it back in service too, so,
And the price will be lower next time we go. Every
Yeah.
installment we make.
right.
Yeah, lower than the discount.
Yeah. 11.4, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the increase in the final amount of the troop brush truck bill. Who's gonna speak on that one?
I'm happy to do that. Not a whole lot outside of what you have before you. This has been a grant-funded purchase, or grant supplemented purchase. So there is some increased cost over when this was initiated. I think most of that comes in terms of chassis costs that have escalated. And by way of that, we're before you tonight asking for your approval or consideration. If we're to continue the project, we would have to have your approval.
What was the original cost? What was the original cost on the,
$140,000, I believe, and some change, and it went up $8,700 something on the chassis itself. Wildfire held their cost.
so $7,000 more for the chassis from the manufacturer?
About $8,000.
But the budget increase is $12,358, so where does the additional $4,000 come in?
IT equipment, I believe it was.
I don't know, I didn't put this one together.
It's at the bottom of page.
Was it the bottom
Andy,
of the
what do you
page?
have to say?
Yeah, so there was, from the original amount to today, taking the IT numbers given from them, there's been about a $3,000 or $4,000 increase there based on the equipment that goes in the truck. So we chose to go ahead and include that in the grant.
That's probably due to dash cams and other equipment that we've
Yeah, other
started doing.
services that we've actually added.
Is this truck replacing a truck, chief? Okay, so the radio that's in it could actually come out of that and go into this one, right?
We can do that, but I was told we weren't going to.
Yeah, we have some challenges where we have to start turning these mobile radios over. The good time to do that is when we're turning the apparatus over.
So we didn't know about the $4,000 additional equipment at the time that we funded this 3 months ago?
This was
4 months
from,
ago, whatever it was?
Been a while back.
this was, yeah, it's been a long
It's been about
time.
a year because of the not being able to get a chassis, I think,
Yeah,
from the,
we started discussing this one in August of '22.
Okay.
yeah.
So they finally found a chassis, and the chassis was up by 7,000 versus what they're additionally quoted to the truck.
Yeah. So the additional cost of $7,000 are for the chassis and then the radio that we need to replace, that we didn't figure we was going to replace. But we'll get the grants. Did they extend your grant?
I have got an emergency extension in, and I'm hoping to get some kind of notice on that. I have not heard. I put it in the first of this month because they told me that the chassis would come in at the end of this month. And Wildfire gave me a March delivery on this thing. And I just found that out the other day. I didn't have time to get back with them.
So our total cost would be $34,000 for a $162,000 truck.
Yeah, and I'm sure that, y'all have looked at potential rebid to see if we can, any other alternatives for us right now? And probably not with the emergency
No,
grant funding extension.
yeah, because that grant was approved on that, off that quote.
Yeah, respectfully, I don't think there's any opportunity for that at all.
Yeah,
So what's our total cost gonna be?
34,000, let's see. Original quote. 34,000 is our original.
$34,011.90.
Yeah. Trying to find where I had it at.
What was it gonna be? 12,000 less?
Yeah, I'm not completely sure, because we weren't doing funding requests at that point, the way that we're doing them now. So there was no real tracking of that compared to how we're doing it now. And we definitely weren't bringing full packages at that point, like we're trying to at this point.
It was around 20, I want to say it was around $25,000 or $26,000 for the chassis, but then now we've added the radio in on top of it, so.
I'm just trying to understand how much we're actually committing out of
Well, the
162,000.
total cost to the district would be $34,000,
Okay.
yeah. $34,011.90 is the total cost.
And so where does that sit in our budget?
Commissioners, it was not identified in the budget as a potential for increase. Very similar to the Chapel Hill command vehicle that came before you, not identified yet, brought before you for consideration. So these are not identified in the current budget.
Yeah, to add to that, at the time, we weren't doing POs, so we had no way to encumber those funds and carry them over into this year's budget.
We'd approved the original,
Would come out of the capital.
Yeah.
Right, the 34,000.
we had approved the original deal for 20-something. So it's just another 13,000 it would come out of capital.
Yeah. Correct.
So we got some work to do, and I understand that we're transferring over from the old system to the new system, and I understand some of these mistakes will be made, and that's what we have contingency for, but it's nonetheless, any more pleasing the fact that we gotta take on the additional expense at this time of the year. All that being said, I'll make the motion that we approve the purchase of the troop brush truck in the amount of $162,011.90.
Have a motion by Commissioner Domney that we approve the upgrading the price on the troop brush truck in the amount of $162,011.90, which most of that will be covered by a grant, and total cost to the district will be $34,011.90.
No second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Have any other question or discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. And that motion carries. Chief, if they don't give you that emergency extension or whatever, I guess it's a
Let us
dead
know.
deal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if the $128,000 doesn't come through, then, you know, all we're essentially approving is $34,000.
That's all we're approving.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it's a,
yeah, so, that's it. All right. Item number 12. Discuss, consider, and taking action on the staffing options for Troop Bullard and Chapel Hill. Okay, so, anyway, who's gonna speak on that?
Commissioners, as you know, in budget, when we got into the budget workshops, we considered options in a way to get better improvements in terms of coverage in the three districts that you mentioned, Troop, Chapel Hill, and Bullard. What we presented was a model to do daytime 12-hour staffing 7 days a week by two shifts. So that would take a total of 18 firefighters, or 6 per firehouse, to create that staffing model. Different than any staffing model we've ran, so we have limited or no experience with that. Other agencies have employed this model and had some success at trying to accomplish the coverage that we're seeking. As you know, things rapidly changed when we implemented the budget and rolled into October in terms of emergency staffing and what we were able to accomplish to assure that our compliance. Moving forward, well, before I leave that piece, to accomplish that, we utilized every available staffing option with that. What I mean by that is we had part-timers that we utilized. We had full-time overtime that we utilized, and even some mandatory overtime that was incorporated to accomplish that emergency staffing model. That continues differently today, not in a 24/7 fashion. The thing that we're continuing at this point is a 12-hour, 7-day-a-week staffing model in Troop and Chapel Hill, but not necessarily in Bullard. We're only doing 5 days a week there. The dramatic improvement for firefighter safety and service delivery was moving away from a 2-man engine company to a 3-man engine company, and so we're very pleased about the improvements that accomplishes both for our citizens and our firefighter safety. The issue and challenge that we're faced with was recruiting this with just the hourly and not bringing over the base pay. Initially, we had some interest from existing 4896 firefighter staff at ranks including driver, operator, and lieutenant rank, considering whether or not that was something they would be interested in. But looking at it from a income reduction of not bringing over the base pay, but only bringing over the hourly, that evaporated rather quickly. We were able to recruit externally through recruiting efforts, and as was presented to you earlier, what was physical agility tested on Saturday, which I attended, was a small group that came to our physical agility, but there is some candidates there that appear to be viable candidates for potential hire. We do have one that we've brought over full-time. Justin Reed is a lieutenant and is serving in the capacity of 12-hour staffing right now, and has been working that throughout this entire time of emergency staffing that I mentioned earlier. Additionally, as Sherry indicated, it looks like we have a part-timer that might be interested in, and we're considering that as a potential for augmenting this staffing need. But it doesn't look like that extends beyond just one of our part-timers that would consider this position. So we're left with a pretty significant gap in terms of what is needed to accomplish the 18 firefighter staffing, and what we have available in the recruiting efforts. So a decision has to be made of whether we continue our staffing model as presented to you tonight, and it has previously been presented to you, or alter that. The thing that we recommend and ask is a consideration for bringing over the base pay, so that we can offer base payment, our base pay for firefighter and promoted disciplines to improve our recruiting potential for those positions. With that, Mr. Edstrom was very helpful in producing a spreadsheet that illustrates those costs that you have in front of you. And so there's several different options there looking at that, being respectful of where we're at in the budget, and the overages that were presented to you tonight, as well as the potential for offsetting those costs even from alternate budget options that you would have to consider. I'm available for any other questions that you might have, but I would recommend that we make a decision related to how we staff moving forward, related to those 3 houses. So currently, in troop, we're staffing 12 hours, 7 days a week, and we're offsetting that. The training captain is residing there at night, and we're also obtaining some improved coverage by White House and ARP, assuring that we get a decent response to augment our volunteer response as well. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
The cost that you represented is, I just want to make sure everybody understands, is per station.
Correct.
So it's not all 3, it would be each individual one that we're.
Correct.
Have you had any feedback from our 4896 staff? Should we equalize base pay for a 12-hour, if there's going to be any expectations?
Well, I didn't want to get ahead of you or be presumptuous that you might approve it, so I haven't really went back out and launched that. So I wanted to be cautious that we didn't get out ahead of you related to that. I know that there was interest, at least with a few. Is that 3 or is it 6? I'm not certain of that, but it was more than a few before we rolled into budget and as things kind of got settled in. So I want to be very cautious. I didn't get ahead of you in terms of approval, whether or not this was a consideration. However, I would say that external recruiting efforts will be improved with that potential.
Well, the big thing is not just doing it, but sustaining it. I don't want to have to hire somebody this year and then next year say, I'm sorry, we got to lay you off. So that's the big thing. And-
Well, that's certainly consideration, but
right.
also.
And then the 3 stations that we have, they have pretty good volunteer response at night, for the most part. So, I know we had a plan, and I think we ought to try to go with a plan that we did, you know.
Which is what we're recommending.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
So you're recommending still with the 12-hour shift, 7 days a week?
Yes, sir.
But just bringing.
Bringing them up,
Yep,
Yeah. Yes.
bringing base up,
yeah.
Yep.
Is
To
it
be
a combination of B and C?
option B.
Option B. It's option B.
correct. I'm only asking you at this point to bring over base and continue our recruiting efforts to explore the viability of this. President Brown, you bring up that you don't want to be back in this in a year, nor do operations want to be back. And there is a cost to bringing a firefighter online in terms of training and equipment that we want to be cognizant of as well.
There's a cost to everything.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Thornton, you are correct that it's partially C, because in the meantime, until we have
It's a
achieved the
phase.
recruitment effort,
Right,
then it would be covered with C.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, that would be the board's decision. I would recommend that we don't back away from the staffing model that's working for us at this moment. So I would definitely suggest that we stay with it. But to your point, it is B and C because that's what's occurring right this minute.
So out of the guys that tested Saturday, you said there was 5 or 6 that showed up?
Correct.
And I know you've been a long-time firefighter, you probably look at them and probably tell who might make it and who might not. How many you figure out of that 6 you're gonna get?
Well, I would just say that, we haven't done written tests, we haven't done background investigations, so I think you could take 6 and almost turn it into half, like 3.
Okay? And then too, we don't know if any of the full-time staff would wanna do this, and if they did, then it would make it easier to recruit people for the 4896.
I think that the consideration of base will help us recruit on this end, and I think that the potential of recruiting internally from the 4896, recruiting in the 4896 world is no question easier than this model.
Right. And it also makes it easier too if a guy's coming in on the 12-hour, if they just get in,
Correct.
let them know that, hey, there's a 4896 come up, you're eligible to get it.
I
First
think
shot.
That's a very accurate piece, is that those that are coming in would potentially be looking at that opportunity for
Right.
full-time 4896.
Yep.
I mean, I look at this two ways. One is there is actually an over budget component of it,
Right.
normally $95,000 per station. But there's also a savings over what we're currently doing,
Correct.
which is almost the same. So, I mean, we're already committed to staffing these stations on overtime and part-timers. So we're already spending the money. So we keep going down the same path where we're at right now, we're gonna overrun budget by
Oh, yeah.
1.3, 1.4-ish for the year.
Correct.
The quicker we hire these people at the increased pace, the better off we are budget-wise.
Yeah.
So the recommendation is to go with B, right?
And in Bullard, we have not been 7 days a week. In all cases, in some cases, out of necessity, but not in all cases.
So the option B would be a 7-day for all 3 stations?
Correct.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to,
I'll read it out.
okay,
I'll make the motion to authorize operations to increase the offered hourly rate sufficient to generate annual base pay of $50,000 for these 8 new 12-hour shift hires. Operations to continue to utilize their overtime and part-time staffing for the 12-hour shifts until the new 12-hour recruits have been hired.
okay. Have a motion by Commissioner Dominic. Have a second?
I second.
Have a second by Commissioner Wilson that we authorize operation to increase the offered hourly rate sufficient to generate an annual base pay of $50,000 for the 18 new 12-hour shift hires. Authorize operation to continue utilizing overtime and part-time staffing for the 12-hour shifts until the 12 new recruits have been hired. Any other question or discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. That motion carries. Let's get it done as quick as we can.
Thank you, sir.
13, discuss and consider and take any action on purchasing a fire and rescue side-by-side unit complete with trailer equipment, IT outfitting at a total cost of $55,207.39.
Commissioners, before you, you'll see that the base cost on the unit is $41,707. We brought before you a turnkey package to make sure that we were incorporating all the things that we've already talked about tonight. Tools and equipment, radios, to be able to outfit the piece of equipment, including a trailer for conveyance. Just making sure that we had a total cost. Whether or not we would buy every piece of that or spend all of that is unknown right this second, but at your request, we were able to put this together and put it on the agenda. I think it bears all the same concerns and questions that we've had related to the funding in that account, but it's certainly available for your consideration.
So are we gonna put this through a procurement process? Where
So-
we'd actually go out and get multiple quotes and?
So this is provided on a GSA contract and provided under Sourcewell. And so that as a turnkey government product.
They were able, apparatus committee looked at it and they were able to get a better price on the side-by-side. It's kind of like,
How do I know that?
It's being offered by the manufacturer, not by a vendor.
yeah, comes from the
I
manufacturer.
think that's the defining difference. You're not looking at a power sport vendor. You're looking at a quote the manufacturer under GSA. So they do have, on the quote, I think it's at the top of the quote is the web address that's the government purchase on it. So
I guess my question still is, I mean, this is Polaris, and there's other manufacturers. and-
Correct.
And I know these can't be the only people that manufacture something like this, and
They're-
just like any other apparatus, you know, we go out and look at what's available for us. You know, the pricing structure is secondary to the, going out and inquiring with multiple vendors, whether it be direct to the manufacturer or through rep. I just don't know, I guess I'm just a little bit taken back by the fact that we have, what appears to me to be a sole source offering.
I wouldn't call it a sole source. I would say that it's a government contract under GSA. So it's GSA pricing, government pricing that the feds would be able to buy off of, the military, government, et
Do we
cetera.
have a purchasing policy that says we'll solely source through GSA?
No, sir.
Okay. So it's a sole source.
I think Chief Melton contacted several people and talked about this, and they came up with the best price, because when the apparatus committee had priced it individually, buying a side-by-side, getting a slide-in unit and all that, it came up close to $70,000 buying it that way. And this comes straight, this is a manufactured deal, just like Pierce fire truck, comes with everything on it, and they put it on at the factory, and is my understanding, and it comes that
Yeah.
way.
So the Pierce was a demo, and there's a reason why we would sole source it, but we don't sole source engines. So anyway,
Yeah, anyway.
beside the fact, I mean, I personally do not feel like this meets our requirements, for anything over, and I can't remember that dollar amount, but I know this certainly exceeds it, and we should be seeking competitive bid for it. Set that aside, there's still an expenditure on budget that, on an account that we're overspending or potentially overspending now, and we've already deferred one payment, one purchase until we look at it, and I would recommend that we do the same with this one. But before it be presented to us again, I think we need to look at a different way of
Okay.
pricing this one out to us.
Larry, would you see if you can find other vendors and get prices?
Yes, sir.
Or
I
let
can.
the apparatus committee do it?
Yeah, I mean, we could put out an RFP for it.
Okay. And we'll see what's out there.
And my question on it is, one GSA price for one manufacturer the same as another? That's really the question that I have, just not being familiar with the GSA contract.
Okay. So I guess we'll table that item also,
So,
till we
but
get more information.
Commissioners, if I may, Commissioner Domney, you were kind of indicating you might not be willing to make this purchase to start with. Do we want to spend the time on an RFP process if we're going to delay this? If we're going to delay this, just like we talked about delaying the purchase of the dozer, then our time would be better spent accepting that delay and then putting out an RFP as it gets closer time to make that purchase commitment.
That'd be my recommendation, but
Well, the thing I'm gonna say for it is, they've asked for this thing for 3 years in a row, and it's been put off. And so,
Doesn't make it
when
right.
grass fire season gets here, you're gonna have a man walking behind a bulldozer with a walkie-talkie, and that's a safety issue.
so we're not going to throw out our policies just because we haven't,
No.
because we think we have an emergency.
I don't call it an emergency, I just call it trying to get something before grass fire season hits that's can help out. And then doesn't necessarily have to just be used on grass fire, it can be used anywhere.
But don't we have two already, side by side?
One's at Art and one's at Bullard. But they don't, what if troops running the fire down this way, or Ridge Springs running the fire up there? Bullard's the only one's got a side-by-side that can go with the plow.
Maybe I ought to send in a rebate on it, so I can get some money back on it when I use it.
What's that, Tim?
My personal feeling is that if we are postponing purchase of one pumper solely because we are under fiscal constraints, then personally I have a hard time recommending that we spend.
How much money we got in that account?
How much?
After we buy the pumper, how much money we got in the account?
If we buy one more,
No, if we buy this one pumper, how much we got left in the account?
about 1.1 million,
Okay.
because we forfeit or we postpone the second pumper.
And we got 7, if we get everything in that we purchased, that means we bought 7 in the last year.
Yeah, just recognize that one of those was for a total loss. So the one tonight is for a total loss of the Winona pumper.
I'll make the motion that we table this until we look at our budget reforecast and reassess at that time.
Okay, have a motion that we table this and reassess it at a later date. Have a second?
Second.
A second for Commissioner Edwards. It is tabled. All right. 14, discuss, consider taking any necessary action on fire chiefs presenting, discussing issues with the board for future actions. Anybody from ARC? Nope. Bullard?
Howdy, good afternoon. It's been a pretty good month so far. We had our annual Christmas party, and I kind of gave our folks a year in review, so I kind of wanted to share some of that information with y'all. So, as of today, we're sitting at 1,071 calls for 2023, with 20 volunteers. Just in comparison, for the year 2020, just 3 years ago, we ran 604 calls that year. So, with 19 volunteers, so that's an increase, of 84% within 3 years of our call volume, which I think is pretty significant to talk about. We instituted our overnight staffing program about a year and a half ago, so this is our first full year of doing overnight staffing. And so we tracked that, we tracked the personnel hours there as well. So in 2020, we logged just over 1,000 hours personnel. And this year we're at 12,826. So it's an 1,100% increase in personnel hours, the time committed by our volunteers to staffing the station and training and meetings and so on, everything that comes along with that. But also lots of good training that we had this year. We've had several complete fire academy, EMR, EMT, paramedic, rope tech, ground search and rescue, vertical rescue, wildland firefighter 1 and 2, wildland saws, driver opera pumper. We have somebody in driver opera aerial at the moment, TCFP instructor 1 and 2, and then several RTI courses to include flood and swiftwater 1 and 2, and swiftwater boat. So I feel like overall it's a pretty good accomplishment for the year. But other than that, I don't have anything else unless you have any questions.
I'll make a comment that,
Very nice. Go ahead.
I was just gonna make the comment that, you have a 62% volunteer participation rate in the number of calls you had this month. Coming only second in behind Flint Gresham and White House. So good job.
Okay.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Chapel Hill?
We had a pretty good month too as well. We did get our FRO back about a week and a half ago, so now we're going to start running the medical calls as well, which we have been. I also had 2 members pass the TCFP ISO instructor as well. I had also 1 member pass the state skills of examination for firefighter 2 to the SFMA. And also she completed the test, so she now completed her firefighter 2 to SFMA. We also had our Christmas party, and I appreciate our president of the board, Johnny Brown was there too as well. We had a pretty good time with everybody, and also gave out my awards to my officer, rookie of the year, and firefighter of the year as well during that banquet. We also did some PR work. We helped out with Mobile Master. They had a giveaway toys event from a motorcycle group. Came, so we had shut down Highway 31 for a while till all the motorcycles get into the business. And so they helped support them as well. We also helped our Chapel Hill football team go, kind of help get them going to the state championship, even though they didn't make it, win the state, but we helped them get there. Then I also had one member completed a CPR, American Heart Association CPR instructor course, so he's the instructor for CPR now, and for helping us in our area. And as well as, we got live fight training tonight. It's where I got most of my members. I got about 8 of them going to that up in Red Springs tonight for good training.
Okay. Yep. Anybody from Dixie?
No, he spoke with me earlier today. He was, went in for an emergency procedure on a disc in his neck, so he was unable to attend.
That Matt? Okay. Well, let's pray that everything goes good for him. Yeah, so, all right. Flint Gresham.
Lieutenant Katie Hutchinson, she just graduated TJC with her paramedic. She's supposed to be taking her exam today, so hopefully she will have the red patch here pretty quick. One other thing I wanted to touch on was from what you brought up last week about the no responses. We do need some help with that. I did a quick research. I didn't go through everything because I don't have time for that, but I took a particular apparatus, run that because it's the most identifiable that I could pull out quickly. I took command 1, pulled it out 8 times. Command 1 did not have a person put on it, which we all know who that person is. At least, I believe it was 2 or 3, I can't remember just off the top of my head, that the actual engine crew put theirself on the command truck, but then didn't put our actual driver on there. So out of like 17 no responses, I've got 8 documented that we had people on. So we've got to do something to fix that, and it kind of goes back to what I've said multiple times. We've got an issue with some of the data going in, so we're getting bad data out. So, any questions? And I got your copies.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Jackson Heights?
Good afternoon. Really don't have anything new to report. Our FRO has been submitted. Have not heard anything back from that. It says I'm missing 1 report and I've got 1 incomplete report. I do have a report that was not started. It was a B shift report, and I did send an email to that lieutenant. I also have a C shift report that has not been completed, and I've already sent an email to that lieutenant. The 1 personal response was the crew was out training, and 1 person took the tanker to a call that got canceled. You have any questions for me?
No.
Terrence, out of your 12 personnel, you can look at the data as easy as I can look at the data.
Yeah, it's
And
not correct.
You got a number of them that aren't active, aren't participating. So what's your plan for getting those people to start participating? Because they're not active personnel unless they're active, right?
Correct, but that list is still not correct.
Okay, and what have you done to correct it?
The ones that are.
I understand, but each time, each one of y'all want to come here and say, well, the data's not right, but what have y'all done to correct the data? I'm not correcting the data, right?
No.
I'm reading the data and interpreting the information, so what are we doing to correct the data?
I don't have a question. I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
I I mean, I'm trying my best to get everything straight at Jackson Heights. One of the new members had called me the other day and said he was not put on a report. I have not went back to check that because he's been out of town. I want to sit down with him and make sure his name was put on that report. And I do want to note that we are having a lot of gnarly accidents on Highway 31. We had a box alarm call, which I was at work, but none of the trucks responded had rams on it. We have transitioned from a hydraulic tool to a battery-powered tool, and my truck doesn't even have a ram on it. So that is an issue when one of the guys brings it to my attention that we need rams. We had a box alarm, those 3 trucks, none of those 3 trucks had rams on them. So we got to get that clarified.
That's operations.
Any other questions for me?
Nope, thank you.
All right.
Noonday.
Not a whole lot going on in Noonday. We have one member that resigned that was a commissioned and paramedic. He took a job full-time with the railroad. He was a paramedic FTP for UT Tyler, so kind of a change of profession. But with that, we've also Chief Taylor Simmons here is going to be Noonday's new training coordinator and also assistant chief. He comes with lots of experience, lots of certifications. I'll let him kind of introduce himself, so you'll probably be seeing him from time to time, meetings as well. We've also got one gentleman that has started. He does not have any certifications currently, but we're by the end of January looking to get him with the basic certification. And we've also got 3 potential commissioned firefighters that are also paramedics that are looking to join as well.
Good evening. Like the chief here said, my name's Taylor Simmons. Been a lifelong resident here in Smith County. I've been a career firefighter for 12 years, also a paramedic with the Department of State Health Services. I did not start as a career firefighter. I started right here in Smith County in 2008. I started over in the big city of Chapel Hill with some of these guys as a volunteer. I'm just excited to come back and kind of get back to my roots. And
Glad to have you.
Welcome. Glad to have you.
Rich Springs, Raymond, I guess you got anything to tell us tonight? Oh, Ridge Springs.
Even, Mike Roden. We don't have a lot to pass along. New chief is still getting onboarded, still waiting for returns on some of that. FRO's been submitted, still waiting to hear back from the state. We've got one new person, I think still in the middle of being onboarded. As of right now, they're starting their EMT school in January, and we've been kind of going back and forth about plans on if they come in and they start showing up and doing what we're asking them to do to see what we can do about getting them some help with going to fire school, because that's what they're wanting to do. I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Any questions for me?
Last name Roden?
Roden, R-O-D-E-N.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Roden, so don't know exactly what your role is at Red Springs, but this is the 2nd month in a row that we've had 0 participation from our volunteers in our calls throughout the month. Do you have any, do we have anybody out there? What's going on?
So our time right now is being spent basically getting the house in order. I haven't really been doing, I was one of the ones that was making a lot of those calls when the FRO thing came up, kind of switched focus. I'm the admin for that, the medical admin for that now. So switched focus on that, switched focus on trying to get our new chief in and see what his vision is for moving forward. As far as not making any calls, I don't have a good answer for you on not making any calls. Sent some emails out, looking to try and get some equipment for the people that do have the certifications that we're looking at making the requirement. And so, kind of the same thing that we've been saying for a couple months now, is still trying to get the house in order, and I believe we've been making steps to go that direction.
Thanks for the explanation.
Appreciate it.
True?
Well, we've kind of been dragging our feet waiting on this contract to go. We got our FRO in place, and we're kind of picking up the pace a little bit since we got our FRO going. As far as our department, we're trying to get geared up to get going after the first of the year. I mean, everything's kind of been back and forth on all this crap that we've been dealing with all along, so we're working on that now. Hopefully after the first of the year, you'll see some improvements all the way around, I hope, too. And we had our association, Volunteer Firemen's Association Christmas party. We had 11 candidates for Fireman of the Year for the county, and our Fireman of the Year wound up to be Hunter Rath. And we gave participation awards to the other members that were nominated from each department. And this was one member from each department. We're working on getting everything put back together. I think after the first of the year, you're going to see some improvements all the way around. Right now, I think we're just butting our heads and trying to keep everything floating.
I mean, for me personally, it's a little bit discouraging to hear that we've let that affect our performance out there. But I'm hopeful that we see some improvements after the first of the year then. Appreciate it.
White House?
Hadn't had much of nothing this new in White House for this past month, other than we are looking just any day that our FRO will be coming in. We're that far along. We've had the inspection and everything, so I think us and Flint both are on the same boat. We're looking for it to come in this week. And the part that was mentioned a minute ago about helping troop and stuff, Chief Greaser got with myself and Mac. Due to the deal with 48-hour crew, we both have 48-hour crews, depending on what troops got going on, what side of the railroad track it's on. We've got Art running the east side of the railroad track. Our department's backing up troop and helping troop on the west side of the railroad track. And basically, both of us, what we're doing is we got our 48-hour crews heading that way. We're backfilling our 48-hour crews when they head that way, is what we're doing. As far as new recruits or anything, we hadn't had any this month. We're hoping we'll pick up real big after the first of the year and get that cranked up and going.
Good, so I failed to mention again whenever Flint Gresham was up there, but yourself and Flint Gresham both have had some really good performance overall in the month for volunteer participation. We certainly appreciate it, gentlemen.
Right.
Anything else?
And Flint Gresham, if you had 8, you'd still be doing even better, right? If you had another 8, you got it. I put it in my calculation notes.
Yeah. All right. Winona?
Good afternoon. I know we have our FRO back, and now we're expected to have an increase in our run numbers. That was a big heartbreak when we found out we had to stop, you know. We enjoy that. We have had our Christmas parade. It's on Sunday, and we used several trucks. A blocker brought up the rear, and it showed ESD signs all over it. It turned out a good deal. We have several recruits One's currently in the ESD Fire Academy. That's going on pretty good with her. And we have one just joined last month. It's now, we're putting him through went on the Fire Academy, online academy. And hopefully he'll be ready to take his test soon. We have one ready to take a Firefighter 2 test at TJC soon, and one ready to take Firefighter 1 test at TJC. I know the one call, we had one person response, that was taking the blocker truck to Lindale to the accident 49 and Interstate. Y'all have anything for me?
I'll ask you the same question, I was looking at volunteer participation, and, out of the 85 calls, you had 61 that you had no volunteers,
Right.
so.
A lot of those are medical and a certain time of day, early in the mornings where everybody going to work.
So
It
they're all
just,
important to me.
I understand.
If I'm that person being responded to, they're all important to me.
I understand.
We don't get it in simple.
Okay.
Right. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Item 15, the closed session. The board will convene closed session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, .072, and .074. No action shall be taken while the board is in closed session. Any final action, final decision, or final vote shall be taken after the board reconvenes in open session. And at this time, we are in closed session at 7:46, and would everyone please clear the boardroom? call the meeting back to order at 8:52 PM. And item number 16, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on progressive claim regarding incident 2109211166, proposed settlement, and, anyway,
I'll make the motion that we accept the presented settlement and allow Chief Greaser to sign those documents.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dominy that we accept the presented amount and allow Chief Greaser to sign all required documentation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion or question? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay, and that motion carries. 17. To review, act, and approve the revised district's contract and associated policies providing fire suppression and rescue services and forward to contracted volunteer fire departments for approval and execution. VFD contract 12-5, the volunteer stipend policy 12.5, and the individual equipment policy 12.5. And I think that's all of them.
That was all of them.
Okay. So this time I'll entertain a motion to,
So the board recommends the adoption of the revised contract, VFD contract 12-5, and the associated policies, and that said documents be forwarded to the contract volunteer fire departments for approval and execution. There will be a special call meeting on January the 5th to finalize those executed contracts.
okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Dominy. I have a second.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Thornton. Is there any other question or discussion?
Can I ask a question quick? On the special call meeting, is that for the board to sign the contracts after the VFDs are signed? Is that the intent of the special call meeting on the 5th?
Yes. Okay.
Just want to understand the timeline.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. That motion carries. All right. And item 18, remarks by presiding officer and/or board members, information updates, items to be placed on future agendas and future meeting dates, times, and/or locations. As far as I know, about the only thing I can say is, guys, appreciate all that you do. Hope you and your families all have a Merry Christmas. Be safe. Don't forget the reason for the season. And like I said, we just appreciate everything you do. You don't know how much. Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I'll say the same, that I don't know that I could describe the appreciation that we have. I mean, it truly is a heartfelt appreciation for all that y'all do and the sacrifices that you make. So we do recognize that it's not an easy job to go out there, and it does demand a lot of you. And I don't think that I want anybody to ever think that we don't appreciate you. I may ask hard questions, I may make firm statements, but don't mistake that for not appreciating and really respecting what you do for us out there. We thank you a lot.
Don't have anything else? No. All right, we are adjourned at 8:56 PM.
Goodness.